Sir, I believe you had a question, comment as well?
Well, I'm Jim Smith. Response to that, use that highway around there, they've already got the route planned. We could use that highway around there, that'd take some of the pressure off these roads here. What I was wanting to ask you, Governor Keel's wanting to eliminate income tax. How are we gonna fund the state if we don't have income tax?
So, yeah, the income tax, it's been eliminated, I believe, in 9 states thus far. And there are a number of different paths to getting there. You can either offset revenue somewhere else, which if you do that fully, I don't really see that as a tax cut, it's more of a tax shift. You can do it more, and that's like if you want to do it like overnight, eliminate it, you have to offset revenue somewhere, right? You can't just stop funding services. You can do more of a gradual approach. So we indicate, once we hit certain revenue triggers, that it will tick down and keep working towards that goal of zero, thus signaling to the rest of the country that is the direction that we're coming. Which you look at cases around the country, and I think every single example, except for one, I think maybe the state of Washington might be the only example, but I think there are other factors preventing them from seeing the same growth. They have seen tremendous growth. And there's an old saying in business that increase in sales cure all ills. Well, in government, it's people, population. So we need more people, we need more population, more business. And you have people that come here, they work, they go out, they spend money, they're being taxed on the income they receive, being taxed on the income they spend. Where they spend it, they're also paying taxes on that. And so you have more revenue coming in from other places that's being taxed at all these different points in the economy. So I believe, and I want to be careful here because I don't believe Governor Kehoe has made any official announcements about his plan for this year. Last year I kind of spearheaded the effort on this in the Senate, but I know the plan's going to differ. Not going into too much detail, I'll tell you there are different models for this, right? You have the Oklahoma model, which was very slow, methodical, use those revenue triggers that would be more of a gradual decrease without setting off much revenue. And then you have, say, the Tennessee model, also 0% income tax. But a lot of that burden was shifted to sales tax and other areas. So I met with Governor Kehoe's staff last week, and I don't know what I am allowed to say as far as details, but I can tell you that this will be somewhere in between those two. So it's going to be more of a gradual approach with probably offsetting some revenue immediately, so there could be at least a small decrease in income tax right at the start, and then there would be triggers from that you would have to be hit in order for us to keep decreasing and getting to zero. Another thing that, in the version of the bill I filed for this last year, it also had spending caps. Spending in the legislature, and I can always give my colleagues in the House a lot of credit here because I might get myself in trouble saying this. When it comes to the budget, I'm always on Team House. Like they use much more fiscal discipline. The budget bills start in the House. They get sent over the Senate. And I don't serve on the Appropriations Committee, so generally the first time I get to see these appropriation bills when I get big old stacks of appropriation bills dropped on my desk the day that we vote on them. So I've never been crazy about the way the process works in the first place, because if you're not on that Appropriations Committee, you have much more limited input, much less knowledge, and then you're left kind of scrambling trying to go through everything before they come to the floor for debate. The bill I filed last year had spending caps based on population growth, and we have grown our budget exponentially. I believe it's more than doubled in the last 10 years. Now, granted, some of that was because of a voter-approved Medicaid increase, so that, to be fair, that was a good-sized piece of it. But when you have a House budget that gets sent over, and then $3 billion extra dollars gets added on the Senate side for, I don't want to call them all this, but a lot of it essentially pet projects for various senators that they want in their districts. Like that's a problem. Anytime we have a surplus, it's not Christmas morning where you're just gonna unwrap a bunch of gifts. We need to have that fiscal discipline. So the plan I had last year, it would create a reserve. So rather than all those funds going to different pet projects, it would be put in a reserve fund that would be utilized to take down the tax rate. And it would have to hit certain levels in order for it to do that. And if and when we got to zero, they would also look at bringing down other things, like bringing down our sales tax rate. But it would rely on the growth. So it would be kind of a, prove it before we do it type of thing. I don't know if he's using the same kind of bucket type system that I had in mind for last year, but I imagine that it would probably be something similar. I know just from conversations I've had with his office that they are working with top economists that have worked on this issue from various states. That there are so many examples out there of states that cut taxes the right way, and then there are examples of states that done it the wrong way. I mean, one example is Kansas that gets pointed out. And there are other factors that contributed to a downturn in their economy at that particular time also. But one thing I want to make sure, being part of the conversation, having a seat at the table, is that we are actually looking at the real world examples. We are lucky to have, this isn't a first time experiment, there are plenty of real world examples out there and that we can learn from. What did this state do right? I mean, look at North Carolina. They have benefited tremendously economically. They're not a zero income tax state, but they've been able to lower it significantly. I mean, the states that have gotten to zero though, you look at those. I mean, we haven't had a census obviously in a few years, but there are so many other growth metrics that you can use. One is actually,